Hello, this is the hardcore legend Mick Foley, and you are listening to Putting You Over. Yeah.
This guy's called the Standing Streamer. Real stand-up kind of guy.
That friggin' timing.
Hey, everybody, Brian Zane from Wrestling with Regret. You're watching Putting You Over.
Boom. Amazing interview that we're gonna do tonight with the NWA World Champion Nick Aldis. I ask you, tweet out the stream, host or let people know we're all wrestling fans. It's gonna be a great interview. Oh shit, we're gonna get to learn if the NWA is dead or not. Are they done? They done, Vanessa?
No worries, sir. No worries.
What's up, champ?
Hello, how are you?
You can hear. I'm great. I just I had to walk over to my Zoom, and pin your video. So I actually pinned the NWA champ, which is a tough feat to accomplish.
Not many have done it. so,
Not
yeah,
many,
you're right.
not many have done it. And my kids, we were just talking before you got on. My kids were very excited. They always like to know who Daddy's talking to on the show. And I told them who I was talking to, and they didn't know. And then I had to show them because they did watch NWA Power, before this pandemic, and they got so excited. They threw a big dance party. I told them it was a big guest, and then they threw a dance party. So I think maybe they just wanted to have a dance party. But
Yeah, so it doesn't seem like something that's synonymous with me necessarily.
yeah, right. I don't even think. Like I told them, I said, okay, this is what I said. I said, girls, Daddy's got a big guest on tonight. He's a champion, and they go, oh, a champion. Let's have a dance party, and then that's how that happened. So
Great.
yeah, it was awesome, and I want to thank you first of all for giving us your time tonight. It means a lot to me. It means a lot to Vanessa, and a lot of stuff has happened tonight that I didn't even have in my notes. But
Yes.
yes, a lot of stuff. So I'm just gonna start with that. So the NWA is open for business. It's not dead. People were saying it's dead.
Who was saying that though? Really?
Well, that's just like what kids say, I guess. Saying that it's dead.
No, I think no. I got to stop you there. What happens is that wrestling fans have a tendency to place expectations on every company to in comparison to the WWE, in comparison to something with the operating budget at the level of an AEW, and then it's become recreational for fans to take enjoyment out of sort of the behind the scenes and the sort of business dealings and the sort of different machinations of the sort of administrative side of the business. And no, they don't actually really know anything that's happening. The NWA made a conscious decision to sort of sit it out for a little while and sit on the sidelines because we weren't really sure how long this thing was going to last. We weren't really sure what we wanted to do to react to it, and we weren't under any obligation to do so to a network. So we weren't sort of scrambling like, oh, we've got to figure something out because we've got to put a show on again next week. We just decided to kind of wait it out, and obviously, things became apparent that things were going to be much more serious and much more long term. And not for nothing, there were some other complications as well. So it was kind of like, yeah, I think that's just, unfortunately, the fans that sort of claim to love the business the most also seem to sort of take this seem to have this sort of enjoyment over trying to be puppet masters and sort of controlling the narrative of things, and and one of their favorite pastimes is to kind of predict the demise of things, and particularly anything that has the courage to sort of be different. But no, I mean, there was, look, I've been very fortunate that many of my colleagues, many of my contemporaries who worked for supposedly much more secure companies now don't know where their next paycheck is coming from. Whereas I've been getting paid this whole time, so it's like, from my point of view, I hear this stuff and I go, this is nothing. This is recreational bullshit.
And I think it's people that sit back, just like you said, and they're just hoping that, like, the NWA fails or Ring of Honor fails, just for no reason at all. They don't have any.
I don't even know if they're hoping it fails, or it's just interesting.
Yeah.
It's just like
Fodder.
It's just recreational to them. It's like, it's a fun, and I think that's that. Honestly, I joke about this all the time with my friends in the business. Is they're like, the reason that the companies struggle to make compelling storylines is because everyone's more interested in what's really happening. Because the real life. Also, half the people, and look, I'm as guilty of this as anyone, but like, half the wrestlers are doing better angles on Twitter than they are on their TV shows.
Right.
And they're cutting better promos on each other, and the angles that are happening on Twitter, and the different, the real life stuff that's happening about, like, the behind the scenes of the industry, and like who's running what, and who's doing this, and who's booking, and who's writing, and who's leaving, and who's coming and going. That's more interesting to fans than stuff that they know is predetermined and contrived. So it's like, I think a lot of it just comes down to that. It's just like it's just an interesting sort of gossip, kind of recreation for them.
Yeah, it's like the dirt sheets are public now, almost, with social media.
Yeah, and look, it's not exclusive to wrestling. I mean, it's
Yeah.
that you look at ESPN, and most of most of ESPN's programming isn't actually sports. It's just people talking about the sports business.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, who's leaving this company, and where is he going to go? Is he a free agent? And how much money is he going to get? Is this general manager going to get fired? Is this coach going to get fired? It's an enjoyable sort of hobby for a lot of people to kind of to take pleasure in kind of in those more sort of stressful elements of other people's lives, because they can't relate to them, because they're obviously people that they aspire to be like.
Yeah. We've had Thunder Rosa on here a couple times, and she had a big promo tonight on AEW challenging Shida.
Hikaru Shida.
Yes, thank you very much. And people have talked a multitude of times about you and Cody Rhodes. You guys have wrestled twice, I believe, or at least two prominent matches. And I think there is a story to be told in another match. Cody dropped the TNT Championship tonight. Can we ever see you in the ring again with Cody?
Ever since we faced each other the last time at NWA 70, where I regained the title from him in a 2 out of 3 falls. It's that discussion has never gone away. And that was October of 2018. So, it was almost 2 years ago. And yet, to this day, it's every day. It's Cody Aldis 3, Cody Aldis 3. When's that happening? I've been very consistent with my response to this, my answer to this, I'm here. I'm ready to make it happen. But the deal has to be right, and we've both, I think we've both known from the first time, from All In, we've known that that this is a real rivalry, and there's a lot more meat on the bone. So I'm not scrambling to make it happen, because it's obvious that the people tell you, the people let you know what they want, and Cody Aldis 3 has been a one of the most, probably the most consistent sort of request or thing that fans have clamored for in my career. So yeah, it's always there.
Yeah. You've gone on record, I believe, on the NWA pod with Gary Horn, saying it'd have to be a money match, a big match. So
Sure.
Cody, yeah, exactly. Cody, Nick 3, Rhodes Aldis 3. Would you put the NWA championship on the line for that?
Sure. I mean, I think at this point, I think that's as defining a part of the rivalry as the rivalry itself, is the fact that it's about the championship.
Yeah, history.
Some may disagree with that, but I think that when you take the reason that the Magic was there the first time was because I heard a great quote from Dana White, which I'm going to paraphrase because I can't remember it verbatim, but he basically said, as a fight promoter, his job is to by the time the belt, by the time the two fighters are in the ring, his job as the promoter is to get the audience, to be in a place where they're unsure about who's going to win. Because obviously, with MMA and boxing and things like, you've got the odds makers in Vegas, and they're sitting there going, okay, this guy's the favorite, and you've got all the pundits and all the different people, and they're saying this guy's going to win. Is that your job as a promoter is to make the people unsure, is to put that the right amount of doubt in their mind, where they go, I don't know who's going to win this. And when you look at All In, the it could have very easily just been, okay, here's a match for Cody to have a big, to have a nice moment. But it was clear, particularly by the reaction at the beginning of the match, it was clear that by the time we got there, the people had got to a point where they went, I'm not really sure what's going to happen here, because it was a groundbreaking situation. It was the NWA allowing its world champion to defend the title on a show that was not theirs, a show that was sanctioned by Ring of Honor, who the challenger was currently under contract to at that time. So, we have a history of this. Like, we've said this from the beginning. That's why I said that earlier in that tweet, because obviously we're celebrating Thunder Rosa, stepping up and moving onto that stage. And we've said that. You can go back and listen to interviews I did in 2017, and in early part of 2018, when the seeds were being planted for All In, where I said, we're open to work with anybody. I'll defend this title. I've defended the title in like 7 different countries, 4 different continents. I defended it in Ring of Honor, House of Hardcore. I've defended it in China, like Australia, like, Puerto Rico. It's like, we've been very consistent with that. And so this should not come as a big surprise to anyone who's been listening to what I've been saying and realizing that I'm not bullshitting.
Yeah, I've heard you on Busted Open Radio on Sirius several times, and you did. That's exactly what you said. Those were the words that came out of your mouth. As far as the NWA Championship goes, right before this pandemic hit, which we've all been trying to stay sane and stay strong through, you were set up to defend versus a friend of yours, Marty Scurll, at the Crockett Cup. When you do put that NWA title on the line again, will it be against Marty Scurll, or is that something on the back burner for this time?
it will be against
I mean,
whichever challenger is,
yeah.
is presented to me and agreed upon, between me and the NWA. That's, that's pretty much it. Um, we have, as of now, you know,
Right.
I'll be defending the title in Texas next week, in a triple threat match with Jeff Cobb and a third man to be determined by Battle Royal. And then on the first episode of the new project with United Wrestling Network, Primetime Live, which is going to be on pay-per-view on Tuesday nights. So, we're working as we speak on finalizing the details for that challenger. And look, like, it's the same with Marty as and Ring of Honor as it is with Cody and AEW
Hmm.
and or WWE or whoever else want to step up. They know where we are. Just make the price right.
Would you and the NWA be open to somebody from the WWE challenging you? Prices,
Absolutely,
yeah,
of course. It's the real World Championship, man.
that's right.
This is the lineal heavyweight championship of the world. Every heavyweight championship of the world, or certainly in the United States, has in some way spawned from this championship,
Yeah.
including the WWE's.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to get on the WWE, but there's the whole, Orton and Flair and Flair's record. I mean, Flair, he originated from the NWA Championship, so
Sure.
there is that
Right.
connection.
They acknowledge. Yeah. They
Yeah.
acknowledge. They acknowledge the NWA.
Yeah.
On several occasions. Yeah.
You mentioned the new deal with the United Wrestling Network with Fight. Uh, can you just for the people in the chat tonight and when we push it out to YouTube, let them know exactly what that's about and how it came about?
Well, the United Wrestling Network comprises of Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, Arizona, Memphis. It's operated by David Marquez, who, as many people
Yep.
will know, works with the NWA. Was involved with the NWA prior to Billy Corgan taking on the organization. So there's a long history there, established relationship. David obviously was a broadcaster for NWA Power, and basically an opportunity was presented to him by On Demand Pay Per View and Thunder Studios, world class facility in Long Beach, California. And then Fight got on board because, listen,
Yeah.
if it's involving the NWA, Fight want in because we do numbers for them. And so it was a concept as a weekly show that will be at a low price point on pay-per-view to allow anyone participating, including the NWA, who are obviously participating in a sort of prominent way, the chance to sort of showcase their money matches. Because look, we've been authentic from day one. We tell the truth. We with the conditions as the way they are, it just wouldn't make any sense for us to do Power.
Yeah.
And we wouldn't want to, honestly, I wouldn't want to bastardize that show by doing it without an audience, because the audience is such a vital part of that show.
Very true.
So I think for us, we've bootstrapped a lot of stuff in the past. I mean, the 10 Pounds of Gold series, people were asking us these same questions then. What are you guys doing? Like, what is this about? Like, what's the plan? But yet, once we had a title match and we were building something, there was a whole lot of interest in it. So what I think you'll see over time is that certain pay-per-views in that series will be more, primarily focused on the NWA. But ultimately, it's kind of going to be almost like a UFC type situation where we're going to sit down, Billy and myself and Maureen and others who are involved, and David, obviously Marquez, and we're going to figure out what are the money matches that people are going to pay to see, and we're going to decide when they're going to happen. We're going to make, we're going to contact all the wrestlers and see when they can make it happen, and try to make these prize fights essentially and then promote them accordingly. Like I said,
Yeah.
we're not expecting everyone to buy a pay-per-view every week.
Right.
But we'll expect NWA fans to buy certain ones, UWN fans to buy certain ones, New Japan fans to buy certain ones if New Japan talent are involved, which I think they might be, and anyone else who wants to sort of be involved in that situation. So it's just, and also for us, in the bonus is that obviously being able to get into a world-class production facility like Thunder Studios, we get to we'll be able to record a lot more original content for YouTube and Patreon. So that's pretty much the plan going forward.
You mentioned New Japan. Is there anybody in New Japan that that you would enjoy getting in the ring with?
Oh, several. I mean, the talent roster is like second to none. I mean, when you talk about in-ring performers, you got to put New Japan right up there with with any promotion in the world. And honestly, as much as I'm bombarded with the talk of Cody Aldis 3, I would probably say that after Cody and probably Marty, the next guy that gets brought up the most is probably Okada.
Yeah. Yeah.
So and again, I've said I've known Okada since he was since he was in TNA 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Or and we were both pretty much in the same position at that point. We were pretty low on the totem pole, but we and so like this, the man has earned his position, and I've take great pleasure in seeing him become the guy that he's become, because we're around the same age, around the same size, and we kind of have we got on well, and like I think I related a lot to him because yes, I'm not Japanese. I didn't speak, I spoke the language and stuff, but it was still weird for me to come to America and just be sort of plopped in Orlando and be like, here you go, like right now, go figure it out. And that's what he was like. He and I remember seeing him once walking to the gym from the hotel that they used to put everyone up at in Orlando. And it's a pretty long walk. And I used to do the same thing because when I first came, I couldn't rent a car, and I didn't really know any better. And I remember seeing him do that once, and I was just so I've sort of always related to him on that level. So it's cool to see, how our journeys have all sort of progressed. All In was a really cool example of that. We were all sitting there, because at one point, this one of the sort of the kind of forgotten locker room in TNA was like myself, Okada, the Young Bucks, Jay Lethal, like, and here we all were, like, and three of us at that point were world champions of, respected promotions. So it was like, and we're on this huge show, this history making show. And obviously the Bucks were like the driving force behind it. So it was kind of like, it was this cool moment where we all kind of looked around and went, man, 10 years, a lot can happen in 10 years.
Yeah. Why do you think, and there's probably not an answer for it because it is part of the journey, but TNA Impact at that time, 10 years ago, they dropped the ball on people like Okada and yourself. What's the reason for that?
I always think that's a really oversimplified thing. Like, people love to say that because, you like, oh, WCW had Steve Austin and they had The Undertaker and they had, Triple H, like, and it's like, yeah, they did when they weren't ready yet. Like, they needed those, everything forms a tapestry, to make you who you are. Like, I wouldn't be sort of comfortable in my own skin like I am now. I wouldn't have the sort of comfort level with my promos and my presentation and everything like that had I not, who knows what it would be like if everything had just fallen into place.
Right.
It's like, you have to sort of, eat shit a few times and take your lumps and sort of have some disappointments and develop a little bit of a sort of callousness and a sort of a healthy kind of cynicism, because I think it all kind of comes together and creates this sort of personality that make, you know, so then when the audience are looking at you, they're looking at a guy and they go, you can't, this guy's unshakable, you know. And it's, you see it with guys who have you see certain guys who just kind of, they seem to have this sort of constant rise. And the thing with that is almost every time, inevitably, something will, you know, there will be a meltdown. There will be some sort of, because the first time they taste, you know, a bump in the road, they don't know how to handle it yet. And you know, and so there's a sort of fragility to it. And I think that when you see like TNA, I mean, the talent roster that TNA's had, you know, over the course of its quite short lifespan, it's phenomenal. I mean, it's an insane when you look at all the talent that TNA has had. But a lot of it, they had those guys when they were still green, like me.
Yeah.
You know, like Jay, like a lot of guys, because you know, you've got to find yourself. And for me, it's like I got thrown in at the deep end on national television, international television, which wasn't necessarily great for my sort of, I guess, for the reputation with the audience. Because obviously then there's a lot of fans that are just going to kind of write you off and be like, oh, he sucks or he's green or whatever, you know, kind of like Bruce Pritchard did. Or, but the flip side of that is that you get to work with, you know, you're a kid and you're like in your, you know, early 20s. And instead of being at wrestling school with a bunch of other kids your age and, you know, and just like, you know, taking bumps at wrestling school, I was getting to work with Kurt Angle, AJ Styles, Samoa Joe, you know, Beer Money, the Dudleys, Doug Williams, like just this incredible amount of talent. Sting, I mean, you know,
good Lord.
And it's like, you know, you can't, I could never have paid for that education.
No, priceless.
Yeah.
You mentioned a name in there, and I wasn't gonna bring it up. Bruce Pritchard. He didn't see your it factor. He didn't see it. You've gone and busted open. I mean, we all know, anyone that's in follows wrestling at all heard it, knows. My question for you, and you don't need to answer, and I'm not even expecting an answer, but most recently we saw a Hall of Famer, a female wrestler who's phenomenal, get poorly booked, in my opinion. Is that backlash from what was said?
Let me ask you that. Do you think that it's possible that that was the case?
Yes, I'm 100% believe that is the reason.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there you have it. Ultimately,
and that's sad.
You know, how there's you know, you can't you can't you can't prove it. You can't.
No,
but
no, I can't.
Anyone with anyone with half a brain can smell that stench.
Yeah, and that's sad, and that's horse shit. And moving on, we were talking about the NWA and Fight, how you guys are intertwined in some sense. You have a new hat with Fight. You're putting on a new hat. You're some sort of correspondent.
Yes, be a broadcaster for Fight. Yeah, so
nice.
I've anyone who knows me would know that I've had a lot of aspirations to move into broadcasting eventually, and have done so on a few different occasions. Even broadcasting entire Ring of Honor shows and things of that nature. So this was a really cool opportunity that's been presented to me to to be a correspondent and talk to a lot of different personalities from boxing and MMA. I'm a big fan of both of those sports. So it's and who knows what other sports, because Fight have had tremendous growth and they've moved into a lot of other areas now that they weren't covering before. So it's an opportunity for me to sort of expand my horizons a bit as a broadcaster and cover other sports, and I will I will occasionally cover some wrestling stuff as long as it's not a conflict of interest or a sort of an awkward situation. I wouldn't expect to see me interviewing someone who could potentially be challenging me for the title anytime soon. But if there's if there are certain personalities that they think it would work for me to talk to, then I will. But yeah, I'm particularly looking forward to sort of getting stuck into covering boxing and MMA.
Awesome. I look forward to that. Two more topics, and then I'm going to let you go. I don't want to keep you all night. You've been phenomenal. Uh, I'm a big wrestling figure guy. I got all my LJNs, all my Hasbros down here. My kids play with them all. You yourself have a wrestling figure out right now. What's that like?
Well, it's available for pre-order.
Pre-order,
But yes,
yes.
yeah, be cool. I mean, look, I've had a couple of toys through my career. I've got one sitting here actually on my shelf. This is one of my TNA toys. But the yeah, this one's really cool because it's a brand new company, Cella Toys, out of the UK. They're and this I'm literally their first product.
Yeah.
And it's a and I they approached me and they were very professional, and I felt a genuineness from them, that they would they were fans, and they were they're a couple, and they wanted to sort of they had this dream to start a company and do and make toys, and the fact that they came to me was very flattering, that they thought I was a good bet to start with, for a licensing deal. We made the deal pretty easily. It's funny because you're talking about like a small independent company that are going to sell exclusively online, and it's a limited run, but I've already made more money from that toy than I made from my TNA ones or my Gladiators ones, because it's like the royalty, by the time it's like the net profit, then this and that and everything else taken out of it, it's like you don't make anything.
Another accomplishment or that you have that I'm amazed with. I've had the Retromania wrestling guys on this show right when they were just getting started, and you are a part of that. You are going to be in their video game. What does it feel like to be digitized and in Retromania wrestling, which is it's just phenomenal?
That one's exciting to
Yeah.
me. It's been fun. It's been a long time coming.
Yeah.
I feel like we've been talking about this game for like 2 years almost.
Pandemic
But
didn't help.
it's like, again, they're kind of bootstrapping a lot of it, which I admire that. I like being, after my experience with this company, being able to sort of resurrect a brand that was essentially on life support, and really really kind of work from a startup perspective to get to to where we are now. I have a kind of a I really have a kinship with others that are trying to do the same thing. So like when Retrosoft approached me again, it parlayed into a wider licensing deal with the NWA, because it just fit. And it was the same thing with Cella Toys. Like the style of that toy is going to be in very much in the spirit of the Hasbro figures. It's the same style. It's a retro style toy.
Yeah.
So I think it's just one of those things where timing is everything in life. And, I think that when you look at part of the reason for the success of the NWA in the current incarnation is because of that kind of modern retro cool sort of element to it. And I think the same can be said about Retromania and about this toy, and it's it all just kind of fits together. So like that's I've almost that's almost my sort of niche in the industry now, is that like people like to think of me as this sort of throwback kind of guy. Yeah, and it's a throwback, but it's like a modern throwback. It's a throwback but with a modern twist, because all our stuff's digital. All the stuff's online. This video game's going to be on like Nintendo Switch, Xbox One, PS4, PC. So it's like I might have to. I was joking with someone the other day. I might have to figure out Twitch so that I can start doing some Twitch streams when this game comes out, because I'm not a gamer at all.
No.
Like I haven't. The last console I owned was an N64.
Wow, that's a good console roll.
And then I became an adult and had things to do. So so when I've tried to play like. Have you ever seen Clueless Gamer with Conan
Yeah.
O'Brien?
Yes, I have.
Like that's me. Like that's basically me. I'm sitting there going like, "There's too many buttons. Like I'm just gonna mash all the buttons and this kind of thing."
Yeah.
But with this one, it's kind of like, I'm pretty sure I can wrap my head around Retromania.
Yeah. I grew up playing video games and all that fun stuff. But as I get older, and my oldest daughter gets older, so she's 11 and she'll play a video game with me. We played this game on a PS4, Fall Guys, and I'm just like my reaction time is gone and all this stuff, and she's doing things I've never seen. But and then I'm like, oh man, I'm old now. This isn't Mario.
I tried playing Halo like years and years ago, and that was it for me. I just went, I'm out. I can't do this.
Yeah, it's rough. Anyways, champ, what I like to do at the end of every show is give my guests a proverbial mic. I'm gonna hand it to you. You can put over anything you want. You can say anything you want. You can bury anyone you want. You can do literally anything you want, and I will not interrupt you. The floor is yours.
All right. Well, for any of you watching or listening who have not yet familiarized yourself with the NWA or the entire NWA catalog, I would encourage you to go to youtube.com/NWA. All of our content is right there and it's free. And, 21 episodes of NWA Power in full can be binge watched. All the episodes of the 10 Pounds of Gold series, including the ones that covered Cody and I All In and Cody and I NWA 70. I think actually the full match, the full match with Cody and I from NWA 70, 2 out of 3 falls, I think is on the channel now. And then as for me, you can find me on Twitter at Real Nick Aldis, and you can find me on Instagram at Nick Aldis. I'm verified on both, so hit me up. And all my other information is pretty easy to find. If you want a custom made diet and training plan, I can do that for you. Go to my website, nickaldis.com. And in the meantime, follow the NWA on all the socials at NWA. Very simple, and you'll get all the updates and information there as to what's happening next with the brand as far as Primetime Live on Fight and pay-per-view and whatever else comes next for the NWA.
Awesome. I want to thank you for your time tonight. You've been great, and it's been a pleasure to talk to you.
No worries. Thank you.
Yeah, have a great night. See you around. Awesome. Awesome, Vanessa.
This guy's called the Standing Streamer. The champ is here!